up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Orange County. This is season 17, and I want to say this is episode 5, but let's get into it. The episode opens up where it left off, y'all, where the ladies are at the saloon. Heather is giving Taylor her lashings about the whole her and Tamara looking up her IMBD and poking fun at her. And Heather's she's pissed. She's upset and she's pissed because she's like, girl, how dare you ask me to be a part of a project and then go and look up my credentials and laugh at them when you don't have any of your own. And you have Shannon and Jen trying to be like, oh, she ain't mean it like that. She was so happy for you to be a part of her project. And Shannon is like, I could see both sides. I could see Taylor feeling like Heather was being condescending, so she wanted to get back at her. But I can also see Heather being like, girl, how dare you try to make fun of my work. And so Taylor is looking at Tamara like, girl, how you throw me under the bus like that? And I'm looking at Taylor like, why would you not think Tamara would throw you under the bus? You met Tamara when she didn't have a job. This is Tamara with a job. Tamara with the job is cutthroat. Tamara's gonna do any and everything to stay on this show because she does not want to leave the OC unless she is the one leaving the OC. It burned Tamara to get kicked off of the OC, to get fired. So she gonna do everything in her wheelhouse or in her control to make sure she stays on this show. So girl, if I got to throw you under the bus to keep it pushing, I got to throw you under the bus, and that's what happened, Taylor. So Heather gets up and she's like, you know what? I'm done with this conversation. And she goes to the bathroom. And while she's in the bathroom, Tamara follows her and she's like, girl, are you okay? And Heather's like, were you really talking trash about me? Like, were you really talking bad about me? And Tamara's like, no, lying through her teeth. Because then while they're in the bathroom, Heather and Tamara, you have everybody else sitting at the table. And Taylor's like, I didn't say anything bad about her. Tamara was the one that made the joke about like she hasn't had work since the 1900s. I said like the 1990s or the 80s. Tamara was the one that was really throwing the dig. So they leave the saloon and ladies all like leave the saloon to go get ready for bed. We see the girls at the bunker, which is Jen, Gina, and Taylor. And they're sitting down and they're having a conversation about what happened at the saloon. And Taylor's still kind of like, I can't believe Tamara threw me under the bus like that, or tried to make it seem like I was talking so negatively about Heather. Gina actually being rational, because I'm about to get into her as we continue this review. But Gina actually being rational was like, well, girl, I don't understand why Heather can't see that Tamara's back to her usual tricks. Like, why can't Heather see that it takes two to have a conversation? So 9 times out of 10, Tamara probably did say something slick about Heather. And then you have Jen being like, well, no, I've known Tamara for a while. I don't think she meant it that way. I said, girl, you know her for a while, but she gonna try you. She's going to try you. So we go back to the villa that has Heather, Shannon, and Heather, Shannon, and what's her name? Tamara. My bad. I blinked, y'all. And you could definitely tell Tamara and Shannon are drunk. And Heather's just watching them be drunk, running around the house. She's also like, man, I hope this doesn't make me the third wheel, even though I'm happy that they're back to being friends. So Shannon and Tamara in their confessionals talking about they miss this type of like friendship and camaraderie and all that stuff between them two. And just reminiscing about how they miss each other. So we then see them like calm down after throwing marshmallows and gummy bears at each other, eating the marshmallows, and then Shannon licking Tamara in the mouth. Ugh. But they go down to like the bar area, I guess, in the house, and they start to talk. And Jen becomes the topic of conversation. Tamara starts this conversation off by being like, you know, Shannon and Jen y'all were really taking up for Taylor. As Heather's sitting there, and Shannon's like, no, I really wasn't taking up for her. I just could see both sides, and I wanted to like support her in that because I know what it's like to want to be supported in, you know, in your endeavors. But then I think Shannon was the one that was like, well, I was surprised that Jen had so much to say because she didn't have that much to say at dinner. And then Tamara's like, yeah, she don't really like talking about herself. She kind of talks negatively about herself. And that's when they start bringing up Jen and Ryan and their relationship. And so they start talking about the infidelity. And then I think Heather said something about, like, well, she told us he's cheated, like he's a cheater, like he's the town whore pretty much. And Shannon's like, what? And then that's when Tamara drops a bomb, being messier than messy. And she pretty much says that, my friend Heather Amon, and they show a picture of her in with Ryan. And she's like, when Ryan came in to Cut Fitness for the first time and he saw me, he told Heather, oh, I'm going to F her. And Heather's like, no, you're not. She's married and she owns this place. And he's kind of like, so what? I'm going to F her. And you got Heather being like, what? Shannon is mortified and like, and then she's like, does Jen know this information? And Tamara's like, no. And Heather says, like, once a cheater, always a cheater. And everyone's just like, my God, today. My God, today. And it ends there. It's the next day, and we see everybody getting ready to do their summer camp chores, because that is what this is at this point. They are doing summer camp activities, and I would have told them, leave me in the villa, because I'm not doing none of it. But we see Shannon cooking, and Shannon can cook. Like, those egg muffins look good. And we see the girls break off into groups. But before we see them break off into groups, we see Emily on FaceTime with Gina. Gina basically giving Emily the tea about what happened between Taylor and Heather. And Emily ends up clocking that Tamara pretty much threw Taylor under the bus. And she ends up saying, like, that's what Tamara does. Tamara throws everybody under the bus. That's just what she's known for, is throwing people under the bus and backing up over them. So we see the girls break off into threes. You have Heather, Gina, and Jen with the horses, shoveling poop and learning how to lasso. Then you have Tamara, Taylor, and Shannon with the huge tractor trailers, pretty much learning how to move hay bales. So while Jen is learning how to lasso with one of the two cowgirls, you have Heather and Gina in the horse trailer shoveling poop. Would not be me. Poop in confined spaces is always horrible. Always horrible. So Jen pretty much tells Taylor, like, girl, not Taylor, tells Heather that, girl, Taylor wasn't talking bad about you. It seems like Tamara was the only one that made a slick comment about you. Tamara was the one that said you didn't have work since the 1900s. Heather's response to that is like, well, girl, what am I supposed to do when I asked I asked Tamara to her face, like, were you talking negatively about me? And Tamara told me she wasn't. I'm like, Heather, don't be stupid. We know Tamara will lie, and Tamara would lie through her teeth, girl. Don't play games. Don't play games. Don't be willfully stupid. We then see the girls that are, driving the tractor. Taylor's driving the tractor, doing a good job at it. But while she's driving the tractor, we see Shannon and Tamara talking. And Shannon's like, girl, you dropped a bomb on us last night. And Tamara's like, what did I say? Trying to act like she don't remember what she said. And Shannon's like, and I quote, you said that Ryan said he wanted to F you when he saw you. And Tamara's like, yeah, he did. He said that. My friend said he said that. And she's a credible source. Like, she wouldn't lie to me. So he said that. So Shannon is like, well, does Jen know? And Tamara's like, no. And I'm like, girl. And Shannon's like, well, are you going to tell her? And Tamara's acting like she's not going to tell her, or she doesn't know if she needs to tell her. I'm like, girl, this is a mess. So the girls who are working with the horses end up at the saloon first, and they sit down and are starting to eat. So Gina tells Jen, well, I'm so glad we're bunking together. I feel like we're building a relationship, because if I have to be honest, I was actually really mad at you. And Jen is looking at Gina like, why were you mad at me? What did I do to you? And she was like, it's really the whole infidelity situation. And Gina's like, okay, like, Jen is like, okay, so like, what does that have to do with you? And she's just like, I just feel some type of way about it. So you end up seeing Heather leave and go outside, and the other girls pull up in the ATVs, and Heather gets on Tamara about having her shovel poop and saying she can't host any more trips. But She also tells Tamara, like, girl, you need to go in there. Jen and Gina are having like a serious conversation about the whole infidelity situation. And Tamara's like, girl, I am not going in there. That is not, I'm not doing it. So they all walk away. They don't go in there, but Heather's like, I'm going to go back in there. So Heather goes back in there, back into the saloon to sit down, and she's listening. And Gina basically is like, you know, it kind of feels like you're trying to justify your infidelity. And there's some inconsistencies to your story. Even Tamara said there's inconsistencies to your story. And Gina's like, what? She said that? My friend Tamara said that? And Gina is like, yeah, girl, she did say that. And they show us a flashback of Gina and Tamara at, like, I guess the boardwalk talking. And Tamara saying, like, yeah, I always tell her to tell the truth because it does kind of feel like there's inconsistencies in her story. So Jen is just like, oh my gosh, like my friend really said that, like shocked by Tamara. So the conversation continues, and even Heather's like, yeah, it kind of does feel like there's an air of inconsistency in your story. Like, and so Jen re-explains herself again, and she's like, I'm sorry you feel this way to Gina. I never would have apologized to Gina because you being triggered ain't got nothing to do with me. Get over it. And Gina's like, yeah, like it's triggering. And Jen is like, I love my husband. I love Will. It was a lot for what we went through. It's not like I wanted to leave my family. It's just that I was not happy. And we had to and it happened. And so she starts crying, and Jen pretty much says she gonna have a talk with Tamara. She gonna have a talk with her. We then see a scene of Emily. It was a throwaway scene. We see that Shane is at home. Emily's being a stay-at-home mom. We find out that the little girl did sign with a modeling agency. Their attitude towards her is kind of funny. It's kind of funny. They be talking a little too reckless about that little girl. Emily calling her a feral child. Basically, you called your child an animal. And Shane being like, well, she got the attitude for a model. And I'm just kind of like, okay, y'all, calm it down, because the misogyny is showing. It's showing, because I was with the little girl. Why is she in the kitchen learning how to cook? You need to teach them little kids how to cook. I know they probably might not be old enough to cut something, but they can whip up a mean mashed potato. Learn to mix now. So we see everybody back in Montana getting ready to have dinner, and Tamara ends up FaceTiming everybody, not telling them, but saying like, make sure you bring your pajamas and an overnight bag. And they're all like, girl, what is going on? She ends up letting them know they camping outside, and everyone is looking at Tamara like, girl, what? What you mean we camping outside? And she's like, no, everybody, we're camping outside. So the girls split up again, and they're all doing different things to cook. They're cooking bison, and I think it was salmon. And they're just like, really, Tamara, really. So while they're out there, they're all like talking. So then I don't know how this conversation like ignited, but it's nighttime. We see them talking. I don't know why they kept showing us people peeing, because I was like, was there no bathroom out there? So the girls was peeing outside in the woods. No, I'd been scared a bug would have went up my butt. So it's night falls. The ladies are cooking their salmon and bison, and we see them off to the side of the fire. While they're talking, Tamara asked Taylor, she was like, well, were we being rude or snarky when we were talking about Heather's IMBD? And Taylor, being honest, is like, there was a hint of sarcasm from the both of us. Gina's like, well, Tamara, weren't you the one that said she hadn't had work since the 1900s? And Tamara's looking at Gina like, girl, shut up, because you always inserting yourself into things that don't like concern you. Even Heather said that. So Gina's looking at Heather like, girl, I was just looking out for you, and I'm inserting myself into other people's business. And Heather's like, no, you were being a good friend. You were looking out for me, but you did allude to there being a pattern with Tamara. So I told her. And then Gina and Tamara start going back and forth. And Tamara's like, girl, go away, Gina. Go away. And then I don't know how it got on to like what was being a good friend or not. But then Jen speaks up, and she tells Tamara like she wasn't being a good friend to her, where she's like, you're telling everyone there's inconsistencies in my story, and like you're like fueling the fire and stuff like that. Like, what kind of friend is that? And Tamara's like, because there are inconsistencies in your story. There are inconsistencies in your story. Like, and Jen is like, there's not inconsistencies in my story. And Tamara's like, there is when your husband found you in the car with Ryan. And everyone's like, what? Girl, what? What? What you mean? What you mean he found you in the car with Ryan? What what are you talking about? And she's like, yeah, he found you in the car with Ryan. And Jen is like, that is not the story. That is not how it goes. So they're like, so what is the story? Like, girl, what is the story? So Jen re-explains herself. She pretty much says that it was an opening party, I guess the opening of the yoga studio, and Ryan was out at dinner. He bought me a gift. Will had went home. Ryan came to the party. I got in the car with him, and she was like, at this point, he and I had never held hands. That doesn't matter, girl. You were still having an emotional affair, Jen. And she was like, and he gave me the gift, and then I went home and told Will. And everyone's like, girl, what? You got Heather and Gina on the sign like, girl, that's still an affair and that's still messed up. That's still an affair and that's still messed up. And so I think Tamara gets mad because she's like, I guess she didn't expect Jen to re-explain herself. And she was like, I just don't like Ryan for you. You know what he said to me? He said he wanted to F me when he saw me. Everyone's like, girl, what? Everyone's like, girl, what is this? Shenanigans. So Jen is like, well, Tamara, why wouldn't you tell me that? And she's like, because my husband doesn't know. And then you got Taylor being like, because she didn't want to hurt you, Tamara. Like, bitch, like, save yourself. And so everyone's just like, oh my gosh. So then Gina gets worked up and was like, I can't. Because I guess she feels like Jen is trying to justify her infidelity again. So she walks away. She was like, I can't. I need a minute. I need a minute. And she goes to call Travis, and Heather takes the phone from her, being a real friend and being like, girl, no, do not call Travis. And she turns, she's like, she's okay. We'll call you in the morning. And she turns the phone off. So we then see Shannon gotta pee. After that whole revelation of what Tamara says, she gotta pee. And we see Taylor trying to help her get her belt buckle off, but she can't get it off, and they go pee in the woods together. So Jen and Tamara end up sitting down to have a conversation. And Jen basically, I said Heather? No, Tamara. Jen and Tamara sit down to have a conversation. And Tamara basically is like, girl, I don't want him to cheat on you. Like, I don't want you to get cheated on. And she was like, do you know he sent a dick pic to my friend Heather? And Jen's story, her story didn't make sense. She was like, yeah, I was there when he did it. We were sitting on the plane together. He was facing me, and he did select all, and it's me, his children, and like somebody else, and he sent it to me. I said, first of all, that doesn't make sense, because what do you mean he select all to send you a dick pic to your friends? Like, you have to pick who you text things to, ma'am. You have to, he actively, no, that don't sound right. That don't sound right, Jen. That lie wasn't working. Because then Jen is like, Tamara's like, well, do you remember the caption? And it was basically saying, it was like the hand emoji, and him basically saying, my limp D needs your hand right now. I said, girl, let him go. Because he already was giving cheating vibes when earlier in the episode, Jen called him and he wouldn't turn on the lights. There's only a few people I don't turn the lights on for, or care for them to turn the lights on for, when I call them on the FaceTime. That is my sibling, my friends, or my parents. If you my man and you've proclaimed to me that you are a known cheater and your nickname is the town whore, turn them lights on. I don't care. I don't care if you're in the shower. Turn them lights on. Okay? So the last scene of the episode, they cut back to Gina and Heather in the ATV. Gina having a full-on breakdown in the car, crying, calling her man. Heather then had to cut that short and basically telling Gina, if you don't stand up and stop calling your man about infidelity that has not happened to you, if you get it together. And Heather basically tells Gina, it's not fair for you to be calling Travis about this, because one, Travis is not your brother and he's not your therapist. get a therapist, because this is not right. And I agree with Heather. It's one thing to call you, to like sit down with your partner and y'all actually have conversations about your exes and how you want to move differently in the current relationship that you're in. But it's another thing to constantly call me because you just became friends with another girl and you're triggered by her infidelity, and there's no infidelity happening in your situation. It's giving that you're not over your ex. And that, to me, like Heather says, is not fair to Travis to have to constantly hear you whining about something that happened to you years ago. One, break up with Travis, take your kids, and move on with yourself, or go get a therapist. Or two, shut up about it and stay with Travis and get therapy. But either way, it's not fair. It's giving that Gina settled for Travis because it looks like Matt, I think that's that boy's name, is with the girl that he either cheated on her with or was able to find somebody right after Gina. And she was like, oh no, I got to get me a man too. And maybe she thought Travis was gonna have the same, financial standing as Matt, but no. Travis got her out here struggling, and now she trying to get Matt's felony charges off of his, his background so he could start making money and paying more child support so she don't got to scratch and survive with a grown man. Because there ain't no way I'm getting a divorce to go into mess. Because it still doesn't make sense to me why there are 6 children living in a 4-bedroom house. Don't make sense. But yeah, y'all, that is how the episode ends. Remember to be bravely authentic and hop down in them comments below if you like what you heard. And as well, subscribe if you like what you heard. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.